We live in a world ruled by tyranny, where knowledge is suppressed and ignorance is glorified. A world where propaganda and misinformation travel the airways at the speed of lies. But in the midst of the violence and chaos, a great awakening is taking place. And as the media empires continue to collapse, a new network is forming. A network of truth, a network of courage, a network of awareness. Peace and greetings. You are now tuned into the Network of Awareness podcast radio station, where we examine current events, politics, health, finance, and topics of cultural relevance in America and throughout the world, while bringing you insightful interviews with guests that will both educate and inspire you. And now, your host of the Network of Awareness podcast radio station, ORRA the Informationalist.
Please just tell me what's happening to me in plain English without the mumbo jumbo.
My aura is a network full of awareness and gifts like Aura, the informationalist.
How you doing?
You are now tuned in to the Network of Awareness.
All right. Peace and greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world. You're now tuned in to a live broadcast of the Network of Awareness podcast, radio station, show. Here to give you some more information. We got a new series called the Purposeful Propaganda Series. And in this installment of the Purposeful Propaganda Series, we're going to discuss this reoccurring theme that we've been seeing since before the beginning of this year, being 2023, but throughout the past 6 or going on 6 months now, we've been seeing a reoccurring theme. And that is a theme of incidences of toxic fumes polluting the air throughout the North Americas and the world. And i.e., we're going to cover and use it as a segue to why all of this is happening with these recent Canadian fires. Now, I know it's been quite some time since this incident happened, but moving forward on the Network of Awareness, I'm not going to talk about things as soon as they happen. I'm going to let some things go along and pass for a little while before I bring it out, because I don't want to just give my perception and jump to conclusions. But there's always a purpose for what is going on in the world when it comes to control, when it comes to the one world order system and consolidating the power by the few to control the many. And it seems like population control is being mixed in with this pollution. And we're going to go into that because when it comes to pollution's been around for quite some time. But just as you can see in the artwork, there's these wildfires that create these fumes that created this smoke screen. And we're going to bring out the propaganda smoke screen because when they're showing you one thing, they're doing something else. But they want you to focus on the other thing so that you don't know the other things that they're doing to manipulate, to control, and to pretty much destroy. And when it comes to Depop has been on the agenda as far as the priority since 2020, where it's really taken its course. Now, this has been an agenda that's been around for a couple of centuries. But back in 2020 is when we seen a big push for it, because there's a certain amount of time left for certain things to take its course in order for there to be a certain amount of control. Whether that control is going to happen or not, I really don't know. But what I do know is there are things that are happening very consistently to bring that control into order and to put people into states of fear and to really to keep people toxic, to keep people at dis-ease. So we're going to cover all of this in the Purposeful Propaganda. There's a lot to cover today. So I'm going to do my best along with my guest co-host, Brother Ahban, on talking about these things and really bringing it out. So without further ado, let's start this Purposeful Propaganda show, and let's get some video out here real quick. All right, so peace and greetings to all the brothers and sisters that are going to be tuning in to this show via, we're on YouTube right now live, Facebook. We're also on Twitter. And of course, something I'm going to be really pushing for season 6 is to have brothers and sisters join us on Spreaker.com. If you're not following the Network of Awareness on Spreaker.com, please subscribe. It's free. All you got to do is provide an email and follow, hit the follow button to follow us. Help us grow on Spreaker. Something I'm really going to be urging. So if you're listening to this or you're going to listen to a past episode, whether you listen on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, or whatever platform, because there's many, follow us on Spreaker as well. That way you can get these live episodes as soon as they come out. You can get the email saying, hey, we're going live. Because something that I'm wanting is to grow the influence on Spreaker, which is my publisher main account. So if you can help a brother out and help this network grow, follow us on Spreaker, besides the platforms you're following us on, and let's get the show started. So this is called Just When Y'all Thought It Was Safe. And the reason why I titled it that, because Brother Bond, I think that a lot of people are starting to get comfortable again with thinking that the worst has already passed us, right? And I think a lot of it has to do with because people are not wearing masks, right? We're getting to go out to the bars and the clubs, and we're getting to do, 4th of July is coming up. A lot of people are going to be on the beach, lighting up their fireworks. And, grilling their burgers and their hot dogs. And everybody's going to have a great old time because they feel like the worst has passed us by. So we're good now. Even though there's stuff going on in Ukraine and all that other stuff, people here in America are starting to get back into that complacency mode where they're like, hey, things are not that bad. We're good. Things are back to normal for the most part. Even though there's other things going on, now we get to live our lives without having this constant threat of a pandemic that's not in the forefront of our conscious minds, to where we're constantly having to be in coincidence and adhering to these mandates and laws. But yet, what I want to bring out is you and I talked about this. We did a show about this several months back when the trains derailed, and it was one train after the next. And what's crazy is that hasn't stopped. There's still more trains derailing as we speak.
Yeah.
But there's been a level of consistency of toxic fumes, regardless of whatever facility, wildfire now with the woods and all the things that they're burning all at the same time. So you're having a lot of different instances that are very rare, but yet they're consistent. So it's almost like you basically have something that's supposed to happen at least once. Let's call it once in 100 years. Something that's supposed to happen once in 100 years is happening 30 days in a row. So it's like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's many answers to that question, and they all fit into a certain parameter that we like to call an agenda. So,
and it's a very, very benevolent one, man. It's that's why I tell you people, just when y'all thought it was safe, it really isn't. It hasn't been safe.
Yeah. I know you said you wanted to play a video, but I had a picture I wanted to pull up right quick, if that's okay. Yeah.
I'm going to pull up articles first. Okay. That video that I'm going to pull up, I'm going to pull it up at the end because it's a quick 60-second or 30-second snippet on Instagram. But go ahead. If you want to share something, I'll pull it up.
Yeah, because I was wondering, it's just sometimes, you start thinking, and it's like, this is from the henryford.org, and it's factory air pollution circa 1925. How come there's no mention of COVID 01 from back in those days when you had stuff like this going 7 days a week all through Europe, some of North Africa, United States, and Canada?
Right.
So that's all. I just wanted to bring that up right quick because I just want to make people think. Somebody used to tell me when I was growing up, don't believe anything you hear and don't believe half of what you see unless you can verify it.
Right.
I just want people to think. So that was it, bro.
Now, it's interesting that you bring this up with this article or this picture because this was in the early 1900s. A lot of things happened in the early 1900s that are happening today. And it's interesting how there's cycles because a lot of what happened in the early 1900s happened in the 1930s. And then what happened in the 1930s happened in the 1950s and the 40s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. And now we're here in the new millennium. And for the past 23 years, more of the same thing has been happening. So it goes back to that same shit, different toilet. So when you look at each decade represents a different toilet. But the propaganda that is being perpetrated and given by the powers that shouldn't be, that are behind the black curtain, they're just giving you the same shit. And they're just giving it to you in a different toilet so that you think it's something new because the toilet is new, right? We're in a new era. We're in a new era. We're in this modern age, supposedly, of technology. Technology is interesting because the more I've been doing my research, the technology that we have, there was far superior technology thousands of years ago. But now it's all reemerging all over again. There's a lot of things reemerging from ancient times. There's a lot of gods that are reemerging from ancient time. I was listening to the show that you and brother Ashiag did about Ishtar and how these different symbols are coming back again. So it's this recycling of malevolence that's been in this land. See, what I've come to understand, and I've been doing a lot of research on this, is that the battle between good and evil goes back so far that we can't even imagine it. You can't even imagine how far the battle of good and evil has been going on for. The brain can't even fathom it. That's how long it's been. This battle between wickedness and righteousness. It's a long, long story that's been around for a long time. Longer than anybody can even think of. And here we are at a time where when it comes to this so-called pandemic, right? Some people call it the plandemic, right? Because all of it was pre-planned. But this so-called pandemic, when it comes to it, it hasn't left. It's just been given a smoke screen, like what you see here in this image.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of images, I'm going to bring up another one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, because we're going to start it off with this one.
Mm-hmm.
So let me get my presentation going here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this particular article, it says wildfire smoke increases the risk of contracting COVID-19. Now, hopefully, because I said those words, that something doesn't happen to this show. But I'm gonna just say that the Most High is blessing this show, so we're gonna keep it moving. And it's gonna be good to go.
Mm-hmm.
But traffic and pedestrians traveled through smoke in September 2020 at 3rd Street and Greenwald Avenue in Bend. Okay, so this was from 2020, right?
Yeah.
Now, it's interesting that they're bringing this article up because we had the Canadian wildfires, because that's why this article is being brought up, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, I've heard multiple people say that they got the smoke where they live. People in New York, you even saw some of the smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And you're in upstate New York. You're in upper state New York. You're in Buffalo. So you're up there. But you're by Canada, so you're going to get it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But you got people in New Jersey. You got people in Pennsylvania. There was people in Washington. I think as far as North Carolina was seeing this crap when it comes to the fumes, let alone the whole country of Canada, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is what I find interesting, is because I'm going to bring out several articles that talk about how these smoke fumes from wood. Now, normally, if you're getting smoke fumes from wood, I don't see how that's toxic, because I've been around plenty of burning wood and it smells good. You know what I mean? For when wood burns into the air. I don't see how a tree or logs, or a bunch of logs in this case, is going to really affect. Now, granted, too much smoke inhalation will affect your lungs. But the smoke screen in all of this is that this is being correlated to, now we're going to see more outbreaks when it comes to Gaga 19. I mean, look, you can see it right there. Look at the image. It says, it says it right there. So let's take a look at this, right? Because let me just take us out of this screen real quick. And then what I'm going to do here is I want to kind of enhance this. So see if I can do that real quick. All right. So I'm just going to read some of this, and then you can chime in whenever you want, when you feel the need to. But it says, as the world warms, disasters collide. That's happening right now. And health experts warn that exposure to wildfire smoke across North America increases the risk of catching COVID-19 and worsens the impacts for people who already have or are particularly susceptible to the virus. And I have to hold myself back from laughing from this, because when I read susceptible to the virus, what does that mean? Susceptible to the virus. When I read that, I think about all the people who took the vaccine. Those people are susceptible to the virus because they got the virus in them, right? Now, it says exposure to air pollution from wildfire smoke can increase susceptibility to COVID and other respiratory diseases. Now, some of you may have heard me talk about this. I'm going to go in depth about it in season 6 on several episodes. Not too much, because we got way better things to talk about, because we got to be positive and know that the light is within us and all around us, meaning that when you roll with the Most High, ain't nothing going to be able to defeat you. That's just a fact. So we can't get too caught up in the malevolent ways of these demonic entities of forces that are constantly trying to put us in a state of fear. But we have to be aware of what they're doing so that it can reassure us that we can see the shenanigans and know them for what they are, but know they're not going to get the best of us. So I'm going to read further. Exposure to air pollution from wildfire smoke can increase susceptibility to COVID and other respiratory diseases. It says Christy Albee or whatever, a climate health professor at the University of Washington. It says, here's how it works. Wildfire smoke contains very small particles called PM 2.5, which can get inhaled and stuck in the body, causing irritation and ultimately affecting the immune system. Okay. These particles can make you prone to lung infections, including SARS, CoV-2, CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19. Oh, well, how convenient that a big, massive North Hemisphere at this point, wildfire, happens to break out in coincidence or in order with all of these other toxic fumes from these derailments, from these these plastic plants, the poultry farms and plants being exploded, and all of these different facilities blowing up and burning for hours and hours, sometimes even days on end, creating all these types of fumes. And then here we got this massive wildfire. Let's not even talk about the wildfires that happen in California. Now you got one happening in Canada that's massive. But wow, what a coincidence that it's causing or can cause for COVID outbreaks. And even more interesting, and I've talked about this with you, that I said that, and I'm going to cover this too. Maybe you can come on to the show because I'm going to cover a documentary that shows the 2020 election and how people were battling against each other. You had Democrat and Republican and all the shenanigans that were happening. But I'm telling you this, and this is my, if you want to call it a premonition of a vision of intuition. I think that what we saw in 2020 is nothing compared to what we're about to see in 2024. Nothing. I feel like this year coming, when it comes to the elections, when you got Trump, DeSantis, the Biden administration, whoever's going to run for office with them, or if it's going to be Biden again, whoever. But this Democrat-Republican thing that we're about to see is going to be unprecedented, in my opinion. I can't say this for a fact, but I just got this feeling. I got this feeling that, that 2024 is going to be insane. It's going to be a hostile year. But what better way to start causing air pollution that supposedly triggers this current outbreak to get even worse, even though it's died down? But what better excuse and scapegoat to have than to pollute the air and to start making people sick, so that if you wanted to, by the end of this year or by next year, you can say that all of this that's happened this year has caused for us to have another shutdown, massive outbreaks, massive death, like they did back in 2020, right? How convenient. So, yeah, you wanted to add something?
I just have a question.
Yeah.
Okay. It says, like it says, here's how it works. Wildfire smoke contains very small particles called such and such and such.
Right.
These particles can make you more prone to lung infections, including COVID, the virus that causes COVID-19. Warns the CDC. Of course, they would warn people. But my question is, So why haven't any of the firefighters in like Montana, California, or any other place there's been wildfires? I want to point out California because they've been having a lot of direct energy wildfires, recent years, like especially since like 2008. Let's look like 2008 to 2019. A lot of wildfires, forest fires and stuff, vast swaths of rural forest land out in the West. All right. Why haven't any of the firefighters that have been exposed, when they didn't have their, oxygen masks on? Or why didn't any of the people in those towns that had to shut down or that they were driving away from the smoke? Or we've all seen the videos of the forest fire right on the edge of the highway, and the people are driving past and the helicopters are dropping flame retardant or firefighting equipment onto the fire, and it's right next to the highway. How come none of those people died of COVID-19? I don't understand. I just need an explanation.
Well, let's see if this article can explain it further to give, maybe hopefully answer your question here.
Mm-hmm.
Because, this is propaganda at its best.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all a setup, right? Because everything happens in increments. What I find interesting when it comes to increments of propaganda is that we've seen a consistent, and I mean consistent. It can't get any more consistent than it has been when it comes to air pollution.
Mm-hmm.
We have seen a consistent rise in air pollution like we've never seen before. Now, in the past, you showed the clip from the early 1900s, 1923 or 4. We've seen it, people that were alive at that time saw it. But things weren't televised, obviously, right? Like it was. We didn't have the internet at that time. We didn't have the amount of instant exposure to things that are happening real time like we do now. But now that we do, we've seen in real time in a 6.5 year, a 6 month period or 5.5 month period. One incident after the next of things going up into the atmosphere and completely changing the air, making it in some places uninhabitable for people to live. Now you have this. Now they're saying that it has to do with, basically instigating. Now, they're choosing their words carefully, right? Because because it's happening in increments, and the way the propaganda train works with media is that they cannot, and the conspiratorial think tanks know this, is they can't use the same rhetoric. What they're doing is they're putting the primer, right? Just like a narcissist does. They're going to prime the situation for their attack. I've talked about this plenty of times. I use the analogy as putting primer on a car. This is primer on a car. This is the pre-paint for the actual paint. And the actual paint job is going to be this Gaga 19 outbreak, right? Now it says, this means the millions of people in Canada and the US are at an elevated risk of catching COVID. Now, they're not saying that it's going to happen. They're just saying you're at risk. That's the wordplay. It says, thanks to smoke from hundreds of wildfires ranging in Canada, for 3 days this week, air quality in New York City was among the worst in the world, according to the World Air Quality Index. Many cities and states have issued air alerts. But you see, there's been air alerts for the past 5.5 months or more consistently in different parts of this country, and still present day, still going on. It says many cities and states have issued air alerts because of the smoke. which isn't expected to clear up until early next week. Poor air quality has also resulted in grounding of flights, cancellation of Major League Baseball games, and other local disruptions. Now, what's interesting about that statement, and it's obviously true, right? Because all this stuff is happening, is that how is it that they're still able to control what's going to happen and what's not going to happen and still have a level of control of shutting down social events without even having to say that COVID is an emergency outbreak? Because as you know, just a couple of months ago, they declared COVID as no longer being an emergency disease or crisis, right?
Yes. What's up with that?
That comes directly from the World Health Organization. But how convenient it is to pull something and to put people at ease and people be like, oh, you know, let's celebrate. Celebrate good times. Come on. We talked about it in the class, right? Now brothers and sisters from the UK can now travel without having certain stipulations and regulations on their travel. But as soon as they take this away, they basically bring this now. They bring the smoke. And it's funny, right? They bring in the smoke. You know what I'm talking about.
They're giving all the smoke.
Yep,
like
they're
we
bringing
want
all the smoke. And the smoke is creating this smoke screen, right? Like a lot of people have used in the past. A lot of magicians use smoke screens to create illusions, to divert your attention so that you're looking at that while they're doing this. You know, while they're making something disappear, you still worried about the damn smoke. This is no different, but yet it's creating the same results because you have major baseball games being canceled. You have local disruptions, probably businesses shutting down because of the poor air quality, flights being canceled. This is all like if a pandemic still exists. Like, did the pandemic really leave us? Or are we still experiencing the pandemic without the pandemic even being present? And what I mean by without being present, meaning the actual virus not being a health concern at the present moment.
It was a smoke-demic. It's academic. You know?
Gotta get some water here.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I have another question about this smoke-demic we just had. I think that's a good name for it.
That's what I should have called the episode, right? Smoke-demic?
Yeah, smoke-demic, yeah. I want to show you something from one of the local news reports.
Yeah, give me 1 second because I gotta do something real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's really interesting because, you know, with this smoke that came from Canada, and another name I have for it is the Canadian barbecue, because I tried to go outside and it smelled like somebody like not lump charcoal smells different to me, but it's that charcoal briquette that has that like a lot of chemicals in it.
Right.
It smelled like 5,000 pounds of that on fire. You know, and that's why I call it the Canadian barbecue. But it was something about the way this happened, you know, and how the weather patterns actually helped this thing go on, you know?
Right.
Yeah, and I have a picture of that. I wanted to pull it up right quick, and then we could go back to what you were showing us. And look at this. This is from Thursday, last week, Thursday. But you see that this low pressure system basically parked itself at the northeastern corner of New York and stayed there for about 4 days, because this actually started, I think, Sunday or Monday. And then the fires started coincidentally according to the satellite footage, all at the same time. And the low pressure is a counterclockwise movement. And that pushed the smoke not only in this direction, in a tight hook, but also further down. But this low pressure system parked there and moved very slowly east over a few days, when that's not usually known to happen. So that's another. Why would these fires, it's like, I don't know, were these guys like praying to the low pressure system god or something? I don't know what was going on, bro, but it's just amazing to me how all this stuff lines up coinkadinkally.
Right. Which we know it's not a coincidence, because there's the only coincidence that exists is the illusion of coincidence. That's it. Mm-hmm. It's the smoke screen that's right in front of our faces that is like, they're basically lying to you, but letting you know that there's something coming. But this is the reason why it's coming. It's not because we're creating it. It's because of the smoke. It's because of these incidences that are happening. A farm animal can see that there's somebody behind the scenes making this happen, causing these fires. There is an arsonist that we can't see that's causing these consistent fires. And that arsonist is the very powers that shouldn't be that are causing it. So I'm going to read some more of this article, and then I'm going to go into another one and how this is all starting to play itself out and things to come. So it says people who are already suffering from COVID are also at greater risk of experiencing the myriad health impacts associated with short-term exposure to wildfire smoke, including but not limited to coughing, scratchy throat, runny nose, chest pain, headaches, asthma attacks, fatigue, wheezing, breathing difficulties, and heart attacks. And when you look at that, and now you equate the vaccine into the equation, what has happened since the vaccine? Because I'm going to tell you like this, and I've said it before, and these are the types of things that when it comes to these different platforms that I'm broadcasting on, I get no love, and hopefully little by little, there's some things that I'm going to invest in to grow my influence on these platforms, and I'm going to see if it works. If it doesn't work, then I'm just going to stick straight to TV and audio. But we're going to try it out, right? Because where there's a will, or where the Most High's will, there's ways. Now, I want people to put this into consideration. I want people to really think about this. When CACA-19 came out, there was a lot of people saying, I got it. I got it. I got it. I got it. You got it? I got it. I got it too. It came out in the test. I got it. Yeah, I was sick for a couple of days and I'm fine. Then all of a sudden the vaccine came into play. Now we started seeing death. And we started seeing death in unprecedented record numbers around the world. Those deaths are still happening. They're just not being televised. They're just not being televised, but they're still happening. How convenient it is that there's a reason why, if somebody's been diagnosed at one point or another since March of 2020, right? Because that's really when this all started. But if somebody has been diagnosed with this and didn't even take the vaccine, but did take it, whichever one, now, if they get sick, it's probably because they had this virus at one point or another. And then if they die, they're not necessarily dying from the virus itself. They're going to die because they had a heart attack. They're going to die because they had an asthma attack, like what they claim my sister to have. They're going to die from a headache A migraine headache killed them. You know, all these different symptoms now that they're going to have that are going to cause some type of major impairment or ultimately their death. And it's going to be because time took its toll on them. And there was nothing that people could do about it. Now, let's take a look at this next portion of this article, because this article covers a lot, but there's much more to cover here. It says one 2022 study out of Harvard University, which Dominique co-wrote, estimated just how deadly the link between COVID and wildfires can be. It found that PM 2.5 emissions from 2020 wildfire in California, Oregon, and Washington were associated with 11.76 increase in COVID cases and 8.4 increase in COVID deaths through the Dominique caveats that this was before the proliferation of the coronavirus vaccines.
Okay, so hold on a minute. So why weren't people, or at least a percentage of people, fighting or being in and or around forest fires, dying of COVID before 2020?
Right.
When the COVID thing, whatever, blockchain or whatever the term is, when it existed, let me do this right, in nature, well before then.
Right.
Like forest fires.
That would have been an issue in California for the past several decades.
Yeah, like people just started fighting forest fires, in June 2020.
Right.
When I grew up watching Smokey the Bear and Yogi Bear commercials and Squad 51 Emergency back in the 70s.
Yeah. California's always had a lot of wildfires. Nothing like it's had in the last, 5 to 7 years, because it's been insane, right?
Yeah.
But this has never been a health issue that was brought up until 2020 emissions. Now, this study goes out in 2022. It's all very convenient at the time to basically support propaganda, purposeful propaganda, because it's all serving a purpose for the pop. Although U.S. COVID public health emergency technically ended in May, here we go. Right, we were just talking about this.
Cue the suspenseful music.
What's that?
I said cue the suspenseful music.
Let's do that. Let's get some suspenseful music up in here. Hopefully, I can find. I don't. It's interesting. I don't know if I can have. Let me see if I can get something here, because I have so many different instrumentals, and
I mean, you could even play the theme from the Addams Family, bro. I mean, something like that. Then there you go.
Yeah. So I'm going to read this while we play this in the background. Although the U.S. COVID public health emergency technically ended in May, the virus continues to affect and kill people across the country and around the world. More than 1 million people have died from the virus in the U.S. to date, and there have been thousands of COVID-related hospitalizations this week. Look at how the page just jumped on me. Said we're gonna mess up your little monologue.
Yeah,
but let's keep it going.
Another thing, remember they had the death counter. Why did they all of a sudden pull the death counter down?
Well, it says many of the precautions that became familiar to people during the worst of COVID are also relevant protections against wildfire smoke. That includes wearing a high-quality mask in the case of smoke, while outdoors and when driving or taking public transit, and being more proactive when it comes to indoor air quality. To avoid exposure to wildfire smoke, people are frequently encouraged to go indoors and close windows. But that guidance assumes your indoor air environment is necessarily cleaner than your outdoor environment, says Luke Montrose, an assistant professor and environmental toxicologist at Colorado State University. For many people, this isn't the case. Montrose research has found that smoke can get indoors and even when windows are shut. Public health experts advise investing in indoor air purifiers such as a HEPA filter or what's known as Chorus Rosenthal box. Essentially, a DIY purifier that can be built on the cheap to keep tabs on indoor air quality. It's also worth considering buying an air quality monitor. California South Coast Air Quality Management District has an extensive guide to monitors at various price points. And it's interesting because no matter what, there's always somebody that's going to make money off of this propaganda, as they have been. Now let's move on.
You know, if I could have invested in a plexiglass company in September 2019, I would be doing this like I would be in a hammock in Tahiti, and I would have this background like taped up to the tree behind me that the hammock is on. And I just have like a little GoPro hanging on a drone in front of me. If only I knew there would be a massive need for plexiglass 4 years ago.
Let's go to here.
What if?
Okay, so we're going to go on to the next one, right? Let's go on to the next one here. So this is, it's interesting because this is why I named it just when y'all thought it was safe. GACA-19 hasn't gone nowhere, man. It is still present, even though it's being claimed as no longer being a public health emergency. That's part of the smokescreen, is that it never was a public health emergency, ever. The public health emergency is this propaganda gravy train of different premeditated incidences that are being caused purposefully to bring about the demise of the human population, period. That's what it is. But people, they're stuck on stupid these days. So check this out. This is from the medicalexpress.com. I thought this was very interesting in regards to being relevant to the topic of discussion. COVID-19 is associated with an increased risk of developing long-term gastrointestinal disorders, including irritable bowel syndrome. This is what has been shown by research published in the journal Gut, carried out by scholars of the University of Bologna and IRCCS AOU, Orsla Bologna. It says the data collected shows that those who have contracted GACA-19 experience gastrointestinal symptoms more frequently than those who have been affected by it, explains Giovanni Barbera, who is the full professor at Department of Medical and Surgical Science at the University of Bologna and coordinator of the study. It says, given the vast spread of COVID-19 globally, we should therefore expect increase in diagnosis-related gut-brain interaction disorders. It is well known that viral infections can infect gastrointestinal system and specifically promote the development of irritable bowel syndrome. This condition tends to be chronic, characterized by a number of intestinal disorders affecting the colon, including altered bowel motility, bloating, and abdominal cramping. Until now, however, it was unclear whether coronavirus infection can also lead to these consequences. So it's interesting that a lot of this stuff that's happening with people's guts is basically the food that we're eating. It has a lot of parasites. The air is parasitic. The food is parasitic. And the water is parasitic. So you have 3 different forms of ways to contract parasites. That's why it's so important to take these parasite pills and to clean your liver out and your colon, because we're all, you and I included, we're all being infected by this parasite stuff. This is something that I'm becoming way more conscious of in my 40s. Matter of fact, I'll show you right here. And I've been taking them for a while. These are the parasite pills that I have left. Okay? Right here, folks. If you don't got any, you better get some, because we all got them. Even if you're eating healthy foods and all this other stuff, you breathing in this toxic, seeded chemtrail air, it's got parasites in it. So you're ingesting parasites just by breathing, okay, into your mucus. All right. So let's take another look. It says, well known that viral infections can infect the gastrointestinal system, specifically promote development of irritable bowel syndrome. This it says this condition tends to be chronic, characterized by a number of intestinal disorders affecting the colon. All right, I read that already. I was wondering. It says the researchers then conducted a prospective survey with the aim of assessing prevalence of gastrointestinal symptoms and gut-brain interaction disorders in patients hospitalized for SARS-CoV-2 infection. The study involved 2,183 patients hospitalized in 36 facilities in 14 countries. Those countries being Italy, and a lot of these countries listen to the show, so shout outs to everybody. Italy, Bangladesh, Cyprus, Egypt, Israel, India, Macedonia, Malaysia, Romania, Russia Federation, Serbia, Spain, Sweden, and Turkey. Patients who have contracted COVID-19 were evaluated, and it says upon admission to the hospital and then followed up for the next 12 months, comparing their condition with that of patients not infected with the coronavirus. So here's another example, brother, of how this so-called epidemic, pandemic has caused more dis-ease, but it gave an excuse for everything else that is toxic in this planet that's causing people to drop like flies. It's a scapegoat.
Yeah.
It's a scapegoat that we know where the real deaths are coming from, especially when it comes to the vaccine. But people are not just dying from the vaccine. The vaccine has really contributed. But people are just dying because the land and the air and the water have become extremely toxic, to where it's like it's almost like we're coming to the point where we can't even eat nothing anymore. You know, people are worried about McDonald's, but it's like everything is like McDonald's these days. You know what I mean? Everything.
You know, it's like a long-term poison pill or potion where the air, the food, the water, and, you know, the standard American diet, basically, they all team up, and then all you need is a trigger. And if that doesn't work, let's add another trigger. And if that doesn't work, let's add another trigger. You know, because you mentioned that that derailment that we had a show about a while back. The wind pattern at that time blew that smoke northeast into Pennsylvania, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Jersey, northeast direction of that current. So this is like the second time in 3 months? 3.5 months that the Northeast or surrounding areas has been hit by so-called parasitic or poisonous gases. And, you know, that's the thing. The HEPA filter that was mentioned in the article, it's going to stop all particulates. It's not going to stop fumes.
By the way, this is like the 30th something incident that's happened in the past, 5 months.
Yeah, all over the country.
Right. Because when you look on Instagram, brother, you've seen it. There's been countless videos of different types of wildfires and explosions contaminating the air.
Yeah, but getting back to that HEPA filter thing, the HEPA filters stop particulates. They do not stop fumes or small molecules, small germ-sized, nanoparticle-sized, or what have you, molecules or objects. They only stop larger particulates. So everything we partake in, even waking up in the morning and or yawning or walking outside to the car, we're being exposed to something that's not healthy because that's the way this world is set up. You know?
Right. Well, let's take a look at another one.
Okay.
You know, wherever there's smoke, there's COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
So it says, as wildfires spread across southern Canada, smoke from hose fires is smoke from those fires. I said hose. Smoke from those fires is rapidly drifting into the U.S. The American heart. So now we're going into cardiovascular, right? And we all know that the vaccine has attacked a multitude of cardiovascular systems in the past couple of years and still doing so present day. So it says that the American Heart Association, the world's leading voluntary organization focused on heart and...
Bro, it's not up.
It's not up.
It's not. The article you're reading from.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to share.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Oh, okay. There we go. Yeah.
Okay. So, let's see here. So it says, as wildfires, I'll start off. The American Health Association, the world's leading voluntary organization focused on heart and brain health for all, warns that wildfire smoke exposure poses an increased risk for heart disease in both the short and long term. You see, this is convenient. This is convenient rhetoric to support what's already been happening for the past several years of multitudes of deaths throughout the world for heart attacks and cardiac arrest. So it says myocarditis too, with the children especially. So it says most people think of breathing problems and respiratory health dangers from wildfire smoke, but it's important to recognize the impact on cardiovascular health as well, said Camilla Sassan, PhD, Vice President for Science Innovation at the American Heart Health Association and practice emergency medicine physician. Says wildfire smoke contains a lot of pollutants, including fine microscopic particles linked to cardiovascular risk. As many of these fires burn out of control and that contaminated smoke is traveling many miles beyond the immediately affected area.
Boom.
Drop the mic.
But see, those HEPA filters and them N95s, N95 stop 95% of particulates, I think, at 10 microns. HEPA filter stops 100%. But when you have fumes and micro or nano particulates that are smaller, let's say, for example, 7 to 5 microns, it's not going to stop it. It's not going to stop it. And the mask ain't going to stop anything if it's not fit tested.
This is about to get better. So wait till I read the second paragraph. Okay. I'm going to read this first one. It's very short. Several studies following wildfires in California in recent years link smoke exposure to an increased risk of sudden cardiac arrest and higher volume of visits to local emergency rooms for cardiovascular disease-related causes. Now, we talked about this, right? Why is they not talking about this in California? Well, when they were doing that in California, that was a smokescreen as well that was leading to this inevitable pandemic at the time. Because a lot of these wildfires started happening back in 2019. And then in 2020, it went out of hand. Okay.
And that's when in 2020 is when it was blamed on helping COVID-19.
And this was a perfect setup of the problem, reaction, solution. We had a problem. We had a lot of wildfires. The reaction was people were getting sick. The solution was the vaccine. That was the solution, the vaccine.
Okay.
Now listen to this one. And I love how this paragraph ends because it's like they always have a way of including a certain demographic of people. And I don't like using the word people of color, but I'm going to use it in the sense that technically in this country, anything that's associated with people of color is considered to be low income status, low economic community. So it says a study published in the Journal of the American Heart Association in 2020 found that exposure to heavy smoke during wildfire raised the risk of out of hospital cardiac arrest up to 70%. The risk was elevated among men and women among 35 to 65 or 64 years old and in communities with lower, here we go, with lower socioeconomic status.
Racist.
Isn't that interesting?
COVID is racist.
So it doesn't, this is a broken record, man. This is the way the United Shenanigans operates. They're always going to associate more death and lower. It's like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that if I make less money, I'm more at risk of getting COVID? If I make less money, I'm more at risk of catching a heart attack because I make less money?
If I live in the hood?
If I live in the hood, then I'm at risk of having the same smoke that spreads throughout the country to affect me more than it does than a person who lives in a more affluent community.
Yeah, and it's a shame it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that I love flaming hot Funyuns.
Damn, man. You know, I like what I do, but sometimes I'm like, Calgon, take me away, man, because people really need to wake up to the reality that this world and the powers that shouldn't be that run it don't care about them. People really need to stop thinking that these governmental systems and these courts of laws and policies has served any purpose of benevolence whatsoever, because they don't. And they are all controlled, and everything is starting to be revealed when it comes to the diabolical force that is looking to wipe humanity out and control humanity on a level they've never controlled before. And if they have, it's been a long time since then. I'm going to read another paragraph and then we'll continue to something else here that I have. It says, previous findings from the same research group noted that wildfire smoke exposure was associated with the increased rates of emergency room visits. But I thought the emergency room visits had to deal with COVID. But it said not just for breathing trouble, but also ischemic heart disease, irregular heart rhythm, heart failure, pulmonary embolism, and stroke. Now it says ER visits increased 42% for heart attacks and 22% for ischemic heart disease. So now you see how this takes the attention away from the vaccine? The vaccine is being made to look like, oh, it's not a big deal. It came and it's gone, but it's still here. We're just not talking about it. But the real killer was the smoke. We're just bringing it out now.
Yeah, even though they've been talking in congressional hearings, because they had the top level executives of these vaccine manufacturers in Congress, and they're saying, yeah, well, we did know that these side effects were, yeah, well, we did know. Yeah, it has, and it has done this and it has done that. But they're not mentioning that. The people that run these companies are admitting that the stuff is doing certain things to people, right? But here in these news articles, that's not the case. It's the smoke. That mask is not fitted properly.
Now
I can look. It's not fitted around the bridge of his nose properly. That smoke, the fumes are going to leak out around his eyes. I know. I've been through that. So he's not protected from anything wearing that mask.
Yeah, I forgot about that. You have a lot of knowledge in inhaling toxic fumes.
Yeah, I went through that and trying to protect myself, and that's one of the reasons why I left where I worked at.
Right,
because the mask is supposed to pass a fit test, and if it's not passing a fit test, you're not supposed to be in the environment. But yet people throw stuff on and walk out there, like they're protected. They're protected in their mind, but not actually. But that's another smoke screen that's getting us away from the smoke screen that is the smoke.
Right. And I just remembered how you can't really be around a lot of smoke and having it hit you directly because it'll affect you. I've seen it firsthand, people.
Yeah.
So well, check this out, because the reason I brought this out is for two reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And the main reason I brought this article out is because of what we were just talking about a little while ago, where I said, even though they took away COVID, and when I say took away, saying the World Health Organization legitimately back in May said that it's no longer a health emergency. So now people are like, okay, well, COVID is no longer a health emergency, so I don't have to wear a mask, especially now more than ever, right? Because this is no longer a public or worldwide health issue. So there is no purpose to be to be wearing a mask like that. Even though you still have people like that, because I was in a meeting last week and there's this girl that wears a mask in the meetings, but it is what it is. Young girl too. Got to be no more between 21 and 25 years old. So the reason why I brought this out is because even though it's no longer a world health emergency, what better way to keep the propaganda gravy train going than to create another problem that is going to require for people to take action in protecting themselves and continue to wearing a mask, because now we got this smoke-demic issue. So because we got a smoke-demic issue, it's in our best interest to start wearing masks again. How convenient. And see, psychologically, what that does is the persistent propaganda and the psychological manipulation of keeping you in that state of fear and being like, I should wear the mask. You become conditioned socially to where it's like, if what's that fact that if you do something for 30 days straight, it becomes habit. Well, what better way to start making mask wearing a habit to the point where we're going to come to a time, Ahban, where they're not going to even have to mandate it because we're just going to be doing it on the regular. People are going to be like, oh, you got your mask on? Let me go put my mask on. They're not going to even have to tell people no more. People are going to automatically get so used to it. They're going to think it's normal. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do. That's what happened in China. We thought everybody was crazy in China, but everybody in China was wearing masks way before the pandemic came out. Way before.
And the thing is, they were wearing it because the pollution, the industrial pollution in the cities, because they don't have a DEC, a Department of Environmental Conservation, an Environmental Protection Association, and government agencies like that.
Mm-hmm.
So their industry is just flat out. That's why a lot of American companies sent their work over there so they wouldn't have to pay extra to obey the regulations here. So they were already wearing it because of the pollution, and it still wasn't helping. But they don't mention that part, but, what are you going to do? Okay.
Boy, that's some good alkaline water right there, boy.
Oh, yeah. That's some high quality H2O.
It's that water, boy. So let's look at this article from the BT.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? BTI Times or whatever it's called. International Business Times. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So it says, Canada wildfires 2023. Can COVID-19 masks protect you from smoke pollution? Let's see. As thick smoke from Canadian wildfires blankets the eastern U.S., health experts weigh in on whether the face mask used in COVID-19 pandemic can help protect people from air pollution. Marina Vance, PhD and assistant professor in environmental engineering program at the University of Colorado Boulder, told Healthline people affected by wildfire impact should use the N95 mask. N95 masks are the type of face covering protection that I would recommend for somebody who is outside during air pollution caused by wildfires, Vance said. Vance also suggested KN95, which protects people from poor air quality, adding that both masks are very efficient, and she would trust them both.
They're the same mask. They stop 95% of particulates. They're both not rated. They're both not rated for oily, misty air. All right. And they're not HEPA filters, and they do not stop fumes. They do not stop fumes, smoke, or nanoparticles, or particles that are measured on a micron scale. After a certain size, they're not going to stop them, and they must be fit tested. So this is, you can recommend all you want to. Maybe that's why you're the assistant instead of the actual, but it's not, but I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue. I know what I went through. I'm just going to say that this stuff is just a distraction, bro. Like you said, it's a smoke screen.
Very much a smoke screen. It says Canadian doctor says simple cloth masks, scarves, and other cheap alternatives aren't effective in protecting people from air pollution. You think? And it's funny because now they're saying that it's ineffective, but yet it was very effective for people to put stuff over their face when it came to this so-called toxic air pandemic that you can contract in the air. But now they're telling you that it ain't good enough for the smoke. Yo, this shit is such it just boggles my mind how people can't see how silly this is, man. This is child's play at this point. And for anybody to even take this propaganda seriously, it's sad, man. It's sad. It says in an interview with Yahoo Canada, John Granton, a respirologist at Toronto General Hospital, said small particulate matter found in the smoke is where a lot of the toxic stuff lives. You think? Because it's what they're burning. It's not so much the trees. It's all of this other stuff, right? Like when they were burning those plastics, when they were burning all of these toxic gases that you can't even be within 10 or 15 or even 20 feet from without being fully protected. But yet they're burning this stuff for days Days in the air.
Didn't start fighting the fire until 3 days after.
Right. It says that's not filtered by your upper airway. That gets access to your lower airway and into your bloodstream even. And that's where the danger lies. That can cause asthma attacks, can cause heart attacks, can contribute to hospitalizations, and has long-term health outcomes.
Well, one thing, the masks, if they're properly fit tested, will stop the ash because that is a larger small particulate matter. But the fumes and that other stuff like that, it won't stop it. Especially if it's not fit tested. If it's not fit tested, air is like water. It's going to take the path of least resistance. So if it's not fit tested, especially around your nose, why would the air come through the mask and go through a filter when it can just go through here around your nose or under your chin or right here where it's not sealed correctly? It can just go through there. Actually, I had been fit tested for a mask and it shifted while I was working. And when I took it off for lunch, I had black stripes like this on my chin because the mask has shifted up. I had black stripes on my chin because that's where the air was coming under the filter edge instead of going through the actual filter. This stuff is a waste of money. It's good to have the stuff, but it's even better to know how to use the stuff.
Well, they mentioned that. But what I find interesting is New York City, the guinea pig of propaganda, says on Tuesday, New York City Mayor Eric Adams urged vulnerable residents to wear high-quality masks when heading outside. If you are an older adult and have heart or breathing problems and need to be outside, wear a high-quality mask, preferably N95 or KN95, Adams said. It says, meanwhile, New York Governor Kathy Hochul announced that the state government would provide 1 million N95 masks in public facilities and local governments as early as Thursday morning.
So this is a woman that when they asked her about, she made this decision and they said on video, do you have any data to support this decision? And she said, I don't need data. So you're going to trust this woman to make a scientific decision okay. All right. People had these phones in their hands that can connect to the internet and do all this navigation and stuff. They better start researching stuff on their own.
But you see, Ahban, this conditioning that I've been talking about on this show since March of 2020 or since June of 2020, this has been going on for 3 years. So there's put it like this, there's not a lot that they have to do to convince people to wear this. But what better reason to make people wear it when you have something that is going to make you cough and sneeze and make you feel like you got an itchy throat and make you feel like breathing is a little bit harder to do because now you got some real chemicals in the air that are going to affect your breathing for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even I've noticed it here in Florida that when I walk outside sometimes, my throat gets a little cracky and itchy and I feel like I need to drink some water and I'll start choking on my spit out of nowhere. I know there's so many chemtrails here in Florida, bro. It make your head spin. It really does. Like it's bad, bro. It's bad.
They got a spider web in the sky.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Sometimes it's like tic-tac-toe, man. It's bad. It's bad out here.
That's a far right wing nut conspiracy theory, though. So
Hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. What it is, But like you said, they tell people jump. or say jump on the
And they'll say,
TV
"How
on the
high?"
news, how high, and start climbing up ladders and jumping off the top of them so they can jump higher. But yeah. But what's really doing this, like we know what the Delta variant, we know what that actually is. And that's why they started taking the death counters off of the news channels. And the death counters weren't accurate anyway. It took like for a month, let's say January 21, it took at least 3.5 weeks to ascertain how many people had passed from whatever the previous month. But they're getting on the news and saying, well, another 12,400 people died yesterday. Really? How do you know? And the data collection agencies don't even know yet and won't know for another 3 weeks. But see, that's how well this is screened. And this, the derailments with the fumes, the forest fires, the synchronized forest fires starting, which I think might be a new Olympic event at the next Winter Olympics. All of this stuff is just giving you more stuff, and then the news capitalizes on it, and then you're doing what they say. But that's all, like you said, that's all the smoke screen to cover from what is actually happening, because they're never going to tell you the truth. Never.
Mm-mm-mm. Let's take a quick break. I'm going to play this song that Take and I did. A lot of people know what it is. It's called Can't Stop Now. We'll take a quick intermission, play this song, and then we'll be right back.
Peace, brother. I don't have a lot of time, Take. They got the dogs on me. They really trying to get me to take this science appliance, brother. And I'm not doing that, man.
Oh, where you at?
Not doing it. I'm in an undisclosed location right now. Up in the nature spot near that cabin I used to go to. But they got the dogs tracking me. They got the satellites. So they eventually gonna get here. I got it barricaded, you know what I'm saying? Because the only way I'm taking that jab is if I'm in a bag, brother. So Take, I just want to tell you this before anything else happens. And I want to get this out to you and let you know. Alright, brother, Take. They're at the door. I gotta tell you, just listen, brother, just listen.
Now it's time to get out your own way. Allow Yahweh, today is your day to amaze in many ways. Cause it's just another phase in this infinite space where Yah be giving us grace. I'm working the race with diligent praise, unwavering faith. I'll be damned if I stray from Yah's will and embrace. Man sealed his fate with his ignorant ways. The world is disgraced, vibration has raised at a very fast pace. I'm present today in high frequency waves. No more being enslaved, all praise to Yahweh. A Hebrew warrior from the land of the brave. From the cradle to the grave to my very last day. Send the serpent to his cave, God favored my way. Never fearful or timid, it was written and given. No religion, division can stop a messenger that's fulfilling his mission.
It'll only get worse before they get better. But the storm ain't meant to last forever. Even when the light is dim, the sun finds a way to shine again. Things are getting ugly, things are getting cold, but I know it's best to stay in my zone. And I can't stop now, I can't stop now.
Hey, I can't stop and won't stop, I gotta keep propelling. Final destination is a room in the heavens. Diligence and militant, his will is my medicine. I can live without a half, but his love is my everything. COVID is on the road, got the world on its toes. So many sheep with their eyes closed. Hey sir, would you like to take the jab? Man, kiss my ass, stop living by what the news told you. You got injustice, brutality saturating the streets. Blood spilling for no reason, thanks to the police. Meanwhile, syringes are being taken with speed. Can't do it, you ain't sticking no vaccination to me. Despite all the chaos, I still manage to stay on the right path. Gotta keep my focus and my faith strong. All day long, let spiritual music play on. All the honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh.
Things only get worse before they get better. But the storm ain't meant to last forever. Even when the light is dim, the sun finds a way to shine again. Things are getting ugly, things are getting cold, but I know it's best to stay in my zone. And I can't stop now, I can't stop now.
Can't stop, I won't stop.
stop, I won't stop. Can't stop, I won't stop. Can't stop, I won't stop. Can't stop, I won't stop.
Hey Zeke, stop playing with him.
Let's go. It's from Brother Zeke. I'm actually like, I'm gonna write a rhyme to that where I just spit flows. There's gonna be no hook. Because that beat is like an assassin beat right there.
Zeke got beats, man.
Yeah,
wow.
that one's called what's it called? Truckin'. Yeah, that's one where it's like you gotta be like bam. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just drop a lot of syllables on that one.
Exactly.
You know, there's one more article that I want to bring out.
Okay.
And I just thought it was interesting when it comes to pollution, because when it comes to pollution, not only do we suffer, but all of the Most High's creations suffer, including the animals. So check this out. This.
Oh, man. Not the animals got COVID too, man.
Check this out. So what is this? This is in a different language here? Oh, come on. Hold on.
Google Translate. They should have an ad in or something. Or
well, it says thousands of dead fish wash up along Texas Gulf Coast. Now, I'm going to pull up something in English because everything else is in a different language. So here we go in English. Let's pull up this tab. All right. Can we see it? Oh, no.
Not yet. Not yet.
All right,
okay.
There we go. Let's show it now. So thousands of fish wash ashore south of Houston. Shout outs to everybody from Texas. We got a ever growing Texas following, which I love. You know, it's getting bigger and bigger in Texas, the followership. So if you're from Texas, don't forget to follow us on Spreaker.com. Go to Network of Awareness or go to Aura the Informationalist and follow the Network of Awareness. Very important. Also, don't forget to follow the Council on Christ Relations. Now, it says some of the beaches south of Houston were filled with dead fish. Okay? Dead fish over the weekend. This was June 12th. Okay? So this is recent. According to the Texas Parks and Wildlife, thousands of fish, most Gulf, what is it? What's this word?
Mostly Gulf
Menhaden.
Yeah.
Suffered from a dissolved oxygen event. Ain't that something? Dissolved. That means that the oxygen in the water that the fish need got dissolved, you know, which is considered common in the summer. Okay. Considered common in the summer. But yet, if there isn't enough oxygen in the water, fish can't breathe. Texas Parks and Wildlife said in statement. Low dissolved oxygen in many cases is a natural occurrence, but there's going to be a but here soon. Dissolved oxygen events can be caused by a variety of factors, including warmer waters, calm seas, and the slowing of photosynthesis on cloudy days, which makes you wonder about what you're going to bring out briefly here about the seeding in the clouds. Now, because you see, this is the thing. When it comes to this demonic force, when it comes to Satan, when it comes to demons, when it comes to the principalities that we cannot see, everything that is evil is all connected. One is not separate from the other. Everything is working together. Just like the positive, infinite, universal force throughout the universe that governs this universe works together. These demonic forces use that dark energy, or like in Star Wars, the Sith, right? You have the force and you have the darkness, which you operate through the lower vibrations, and then the higher vibrations was the force. Well, this is no different. So it says officials with Quintana Beach County Park, where the fish wash ashore, said there was no evidence of any chemical release. Large amounts of fish first began washing ashore Friday. At the time, officials did not know how big the dead zone was, but one fisherman reported seeing dead fish 10 miles out.
Wow.
10 miles. That's a lot of miles for there to be dead fish all over the place. People were advised over the weekend to stay away from the beach as crews were brought in to remove the fish. We definitely advise that no one enters the water, Quintana Beach County Park officials posted on his Facebook page on Saturday. On Sunday, officials said they believed that the last dead fish washed ashore. They were mostly deteriorated to the point of being shredded skeletons. Quintana Beach County Park is also open, but officials said it wouldn't hurt to wait a couple more days to let everything settle before making a trip to shore. You got to be, listen, if I see 10 miles of dead fish, I'm never going in that water. All right. I remember one time in 2000 and I think this was 2000 and I'm going to say, no, 1999. 1999 or 1998. Cause I was living upstate for a couple of years in the Newburgh area, Orange County. But I was always going to the city, right? Because I'm from New York City, from the Bronx. So I was always going to chill with my peoples. I had a girlfriend in Brooklyn in Bay Ridge. And I remember me, my girlfriend, and my two boys, we went to Orchard Beach. And my dumbass went into the water. And bro, not even a minute in the water, I felt like the Toxic Avenger. I was like, yo, I had this green film on me. Like, I felt like I was glowing. And I had to go to the, the public showers they have. And I went in that public shower, bro. And I had to sit there for at least 20 minutes to feel like I got the film off of me. Put it like this. When I came out the water, I felt 10 pounds heavier. I felt like I had a bodysuit. I felt like I was wearing a coat of toxic energy. It was disgusting, bro. And that was in 1998.
Born on the bayou.
You got to be crazy to go in these types of waters with dead fish like that. Because, you know, dead fish smells horrible, right? You ever smell rotten fish? I mean, that stench will travel for miles. Dead fish is toxic. So you got millions of dead fish in the water. You can't go in that water, man. No, hell no. Okay, let's bring out your article, right?
Okay. I wanted to bring out something else first too, as well, because there's something else that should be increasing COVID as well.
Okay. Let's do it.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because these type of emissions from this smoke totals like far more than all the cars driven in the world in a year. So,
interesting.
Yeah. It's like one eruption one volcanic eruption emits more carbon and methane than like all the cars in the world traveling, I think 1,000 miles or something like that, or whatever. But I just wanted to go to this summarizer thing I had up. You still got to pull it up, bro. We'll go to this summarizer thing. Here it says, in 2023, there were 56 confirmed eruptions from 56 different volcanoes, with 6 of them being new eruptions that started during the year. Okay. So I want to scroll down and then, okay. Look at this. So we had a volcanic eruption here. All right. And we see that this is like close in on a drone, but this is actually after it died down, it was smoking. Okay. So it's the U.S. Geological Survey said on Thursday it was lowering a safety alert for Hawaii ice. I said, I don't know. Kilauea volcano a day after warning that a new eruption that had taken place there. So why are they not telling the people to wear masks? I don't understand it, because, because there's several volcanic eruptions that have a lot of smoke. Okay. And oops, did that go through? Okay. Fiery deluge. And let's see. Okay. Oh, look at that. We can go to a photo gallery and look at all of this smoke. And it's still smoking. So why are they not telling the people in Hawaii to wear to wear masks? It's interesting how they can pick maybe this is something that's totally natural and the other stuff that's not natural.
It sounds like we need to sound the air raid alarm. Let's do that.
Yeah. Okay. Here, I got this. Shing, shing. Got this other screen I want to pull up right quick.
All right.
We can pull this one up.
Oh, we got to sound the air raid alarm again, bro. Every time we see a mask come on the screen, we got to sound it off. Brothers and sisters, put your mask on.
Beautiful.
Wildfire.
Beautiful. Okay, I got this from berkeley.edu. No, that was another one. This one was better. Washington State Department of Health, wildfire smoke and face masks. All right. So the most effective ways to protect yourself from wildfire smoke are to stay indoors. But the other article brought out how that is not adequate protection sometimes. Limit time outdoors and reduce physical activity, because that's what's happening. The carbon monoxide that's in the air from the smoke, which is not particulate, it is a gas, it is a fume, that gets in the lungs and displaces the oxygen. Then when you do the physical activity on top of that, you're not getting enough oxygen, and that leads to the non-hospital visit heart attacks and the hospital visit or ER visit heart problems. Okay? Look it up. People who must be outside in smoky air may benefit from wearing masks called particulate respirators, Most people will find it difficult to wear the mask correctly because they have to be fit tested and they don't feel good. Look at the next sentence. If the mask does not fit properly, it will provide little or no protection. Using respirator masks can make it harder to breathe, which would lead to a heart attack. Anyone with lung or heart disease should check with their healthcare provider before using any mask. Are they telling people to check with their healthcare providers, or are they just handing out masks like the governor of New York, hocus pocus?
Well,
I don't
guess
need
what?
data.
Somebody's making a ton of money off of this propaganda.
Oh, man. And a navy of super tankers money. Okay?
Right.
Check this out. Here it is. Now remember, Washington State Department of Health. Will a face mask protect me from wildfire smoke? Respirator masks worn correctly may, as in might, provide some protection by filtering out fine particles in the smoke. Masks do not help with hazardous gases in the smoke.
What face mask should I get? An M95, an N95.
Are the cheapest and most available masks to help protect your lungs from wildfire smoke. They are generally available at hardware stores and pharmacies. Make sure that the mask is certified by NIOSH, not a one-strap paper dust mask or surgical mask. How many times did the news say that the surgical mask was okay?
Of course they said that. Mm-hmm. Not anymore.
Oh yeah.
Because but this is not an issue with CACA-19. This is an issue with smoke inhalation.
Oh, yeah, but
that's the new pandemic is smokeademics.
Yeah, but even the best N95s were the filtration media was too big to stop an onslaught of CV-19 germs. So what are you going to do there? Not a one-strap paper dust mask or surgical mask. It should have two straps that go around your head. A size of the mask must be a size that fits over your nose and under your chin. It should seal tightly to your face.
I got a question for you. I was wondering, do people that smoke trees don't have to worry about wearing a mask?
Dude, I used to work with a dude, and he smoked cigarettes so much. We would put on, and it was a brass furnace that we would have to skim the dross off of the brass. So when we poured the metal, the dross wouldn't get mixed up into the metal and then cause laminations down further down in the facility when they rolled it out in the strip. This dude, we skimming. This dude would take a cigar out of his mouth, burn a hole in the mask, put the mask on, and then stick the cigarette through the hole in the mask and skim the furnace with the cigarette poking through the mask, dude. So maybe people might want to do that with a blunt. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. All I'm saying is the mask should seal tightly to your face. If the mask does not fit properly, it may not provide any protection. Okay? So that's the thing. And they're just handing out these masks and people saying, oh, it's free. No, they're taking taxpayer money to buy these masks for people to give them out free. So in a way, you're paying for it. And if you look at this lady, see how this is how the mask comes out of the package. This metal strip is supposed to be bent to conform to the bridge of her nose.
Yeah, this is what painters wear. Been wearing this mask painting for years.
Yeah, but that strip is supposed to be bent so that top part conforms to the bridge of her nose. And I'm looking at her. I don't want to evil surmise, but I don't think she has a wide, breathing up all the white man's air nose. She probably has a narrow, the problem is not your software, nose. Okay?
That AKA needle nose.
That mask does not fit correctly. It would not pass a fit test. Okay? So that mask is not correct, not protecting her in that. Okay? And then I had an article pulled up, I didn't think we were going to use it. But, yeah, and you mentioned it too, about how they're attributing these forest fires that start 800 miles apart. They start at the same time, in an area, 800-mile diameter. All of these forest fires start at the same time. They're attributing that to climate change. No lightning strikes, no clouds, clear day. You can look up the satellite imagery if you want. It just started all at the same time, right? But they're attributing this to climate change. So there's a thing about this climate change angle, because they're going to say that climate change is enhancing COVID because it's causing the forest fires, and they're going to blame everything on climate change. However, we can go back to an article that was on CBS News from July 23rd, 2021, and this is not the only time that this has happened. They're doing it out. They're doing it out in the West. They were doing it last year because there was a drought in the Midwest, and I think there were 8 states that were cloud seeding. Okay, but I'm going to read some of this. With the temperatures in Dubai regularly surpassing 115 degrees Fahrenheit, the government has decided to take control of the scorching weather. Scientists in the United Arab Emirates are making it rain. They're not going to the strip club. They're making it rain artificially using electrical charges from drones to manipulate the weather and force rainfall across the desert nation. So, we can read more. I can back out of this page and go to several other pages. And yeah, there's people talking against it, but there's just as many pages saying that it works. Okay? So if these forests are so dry, like in California, that gets federal money to manage the forest to prevent forest fires, but they always steer the money somewhere else. And then when they have a forest fire, they say climate change. They could actually spend less money, or less federal money, meaning that I'm a taxpayer in New York paying for some of this. They could actually seed the clouds. And last year, when they were having all these drought conditions in LA and stuff, they could have been cloud seeding. But they're trying to push climate change, which is pushing the forest fires, which is pushing the COVID-19, which is pushing the danger and the stress, which is pushing all of this other stuff. And it's all man-made. It's not a list of cascading things to contribute to the pandemic. It's academic that they're faking it. We sell these Saudi Arabia and Dubai billions of dollars of military equipment. You think we could give them a $1 billion discount and they give us some of this some of this rain seeding technology? Oh, no. We gave them that too. We've been using it until certain places in this country started pushing climate change. I'm going to read a little bit more. The new method of cloud seeding shows promise in helping to mitigate drought conditions worldwide without as many environmental concerns as previous methods involving salt flares. I don't know if this has any volume, so I'm just going to play this. This is in Dubai. This is in the middle of a desert. Okay. This is in the middle of the desert, and they artificially inseminated the clouds or made some clouds or whatever they did. Look it up. They made it rain. And it dried. Look at there's water all over the streets. All right. So they could do this and keep the forest fires from happening, but that wouldn't promote climate change or promote your fear of COVID-19.
So since we're coming up to the 2-hour mark, I want to play this last video just to kind of sum it all up, especially when it comes to problem, reaction, solution. And let's end it with this quick video that I got on Instagram. And
oh, is that the girl from Yahoo?
Well, let's
But can I please tell you this huge news? This is huge, you guys.
What?
Pfizer purchased a rival company called Arena Pharmaceuticals for $6.7 billion. And what they do is they have drug products that treat immunoinflammatory diseases from injury. So Pfizer, who's giving the injuries, are now going to be the solution.
It's the fox watching the hen house.
Like, come on. This is, what is it, problem, reaction, solution? But now they're in charge of it all. They're in control of it all. But can I please tell you this huge news?
So now they're in charge of it all. They always have been. They never wasn't in charge. The moment they declared this frivolous, toxic air variant gaga propaganda, they were in total control. And it went a lot better than they thought that it ever could because of the level of compliance. And all this is doing is keeping that level of compliance going. That's why there's been a steady stream. And what's happening right now with these toxic fumes in the air is that there's actually stuff that's in the air that is going to make us sick. And it is going to be cause for concern to where people are. Listen, right now, there is a vaccine being distributed for almost everything. Have you seen the recent commercials for this past 2 years? That there is a vaccine for everything under the sun. Everything. There's a vaccine for different types of heart disease. There's a vaccine for gout.
I saw that one.
There's a vaccine for joint pain, for arthritis. It's almost like they're coming out with a vaccine for everything you could possibly imagine, which further promotes this Operation Depop that I've talked about many of times. And if you don't know what Operation Depop is all about, check out my episode on Operation Depop in season 5, because I've been talking about this since I first started this network over 3 years ago. So I'm not going nowhere. I'm going to keep talking about this because people need to be aware of what's really happening, because this thing is only going to get worse, as it has been. It's been playing itself worse and worse and worse and worse. So even though they pulled back on the emergency health condition or issue, doesn't mean that they're not still putting out toxic chemicals into the air, into the food to continue to get us sick. They're just regrouping on how they're going to bring out the next one. And when they bring out the next one, you know what's going to happen? There are going to be people like you and I that are going to be like, this is nonsense. But there's going to be way more people to be like, let me go get my mask. Let me go do this. Let me go get my boosting. You know?
They're going to be people like Red Man and Method Man. How high?
Right.
How high do I have to jump?
Exactly. So any last words for the listeners on this new series that is called the Purposeful Propaganda Series?
Oh, I just want to give all praises to the Most High through Christ. It's an honor and a privilege to be back here again with you. I enjoyed myself. And my last words are, I wouldn't put it past them.
Right. Let's sound it off. Air raid. It's about to get crazy, folks.
Yeah.
So with that being said, let's let me get my beat going on here. Get my awakening beat.
Yeah, that sounded like the Mad Max police siren there. And we know what time that was.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you are looking for ransom, I can tell you I don't have money. But what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. Make me a nightmare for people like you.
So, brothers and sisters from around the world, I hope you enjoyed this live broadcast from Brother Ahban and I on the Network of Awareness. And don't forget to follow us on Spreaker. That's Spreaker.com. Follow Network of Awareness or the information list. That way you can get these live shows via audio. If you can't watch them on video, because we don't always do video, but for the most part, you know, we've been keeping it consistent on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And of course, you can always watch the archived shows via video or on audio on your favorite podcast listening platform, wherever podcasts are played. And season 6 coming out soon. The light is within you and all around you. So with that being said, when you live in the present, there is always an opportunity for a new beginning. And don't look for the light at the end of the tunnel, because the light is and always will be within you. So light up the tunnel, find your way through the darkness. This is already information saying peace, love, and light, and giving all praises to the Most High.
Peace.
Peace.